Hey, good morning. Welcome back to my live stream. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today is July 3rd, isn't it? July 3rd, 2018? Yeah, just double checking that. All right, making sure I got the date right. July 3rd, 2018. And this is Fritz and Friends. I'm wearing my Agents of Shield hat because this week Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out, and I'm really excited to see that movie. I really enjoyed the first Ant-Man movie, and when I first heard the name of the movie, Ant-Man, I was like, you're kidding, right? But it was a lot of fun dealing with all the interesting things that a superhero could do if they were able to shrink. Well, now in the new one, he's got a friend played by Evangeline Lilly, the Wasp, who can shrink with him, and all the hijinks that they get into. Really looking forward to that. Good morning, Brave Cobra, Maker Blakers out there, and yes, woohoo, Maker Blaker, and there's President Not Sure, Mr. Regs, good to see you. Yeah, I'm expecting a lighter volume on the number of viewers on the stream today, just because it's the week of the American holiday, the July 4th Independence Day holiday here in the States, so I'm expecting a lot of folks are on vacation, taking a holiday, enjoying some time away from the office with their family. That's great. More power to you. I've got code I like to write, so we're going to be working on that today. Let's get some music to code by running in the background here. And today I think, you know what? I'm gonna run with gold. I believe that's what this one's called here today. Hey there, Mike. It's Mike. Hey, Mike. Good to see you. So this is music to code by, of course, groovy music that gets you in the groove, gets you focused, scientifically engineered to get you in that state of flow where everything kind of falls to the side and you just get stuff done. There was a point yesterday I was listening to Blue all morning, and I started writing code at 9 in the morning, and it wasn't until 3 in the afternoon that my wife came in with a plate with a sandwich and some chips on it and said, you haven't had lunch yet. You've been up here working all day. You all right? And I said, oh my gosh, I completely forgot what time it is. I was that focused. And it literally had no idea what was going on around me, and I just got stuff done. So check it out. Make sure you check out mtcb.pwop.com. The Fritz bot will give you a link to it if you ask it for help about the music. And of course, Music to Flow By is his app that you can download. Big thanks to Carl Franklin for granting us a license to play his music here on stream. Standby Reloading says, I get to work from home today, so you're sharing a portion of my 34-inch ultra-wide. Hello, Code over there. Hello. Working from home today, so like a foot in both camps. Yeah. Howdy. Well, hello there, Code Artistic Ninja. Good to see you. It's going great, Mike. We're in the summer here. Oh my gosh, thank you for the
great work.
Well, thank you, Maker Blaker. I will. Absolutely. We'll match that donation, match that subscription, and make a donation to Girl Develop It. Yeah, they're helping underserved women, minorities learn how to write code just like we are here on stream. All right. Hey, there's Jürgen. Hello from Germany. Guten Nachmittag. All right. Let's get to it. I've done that sometimes. Feels great to be so productive without realizing it. Yes. Oh my gosh. Say no more. All right, let's get up to speed here. A couple things that I want to share. First off, let's do this one. There we go. I was on Channel 9. I recorded a video with my friend Cecil Phillip. You can see it here. This is the on.net show. If you go to channel9.msdn.com, the Channel 9 show is there, and you can see I recorded from home here. I was even using my chroma key screen. They didn't black it out, and they didn't trim the video so that you couldn't see the edges of the screen, but hey, whatever. But we talked about all the cool new features in ASP.NET Web Forms. It's about a half-hour video. Check it out. Really neat stuff there that we covered. I showed a couple of samples that I think were pretty interesting. So if you're still working with ASP.NET Web Forms, there's a little bit of fun for you. I'm in the middle of working on the call for content for .NET Conf. .NETconf.net. Check that out. No hat? I know, I had to take my hat off for Channel 9. Who knew? There's something around doing videos with the folks that work there that, yeah, hats just don't work for them, but, I may get my way at .NET Conf. So we're working on the call for content here. We've got more than 100 submissions. There's going to be more than 40 sessions. 40 sessions? 16? No, there will be exactly 40 sessions for .NET Conf this year. First 2 days, 9 to 5, broadcast live from Redmond. And day 3 is community day. Day 3 is your day. We're going to broadcast live from every time zone, every MVP, every speaker, whoever it may be that we choose. In each time zone, we'll get to speak at a time that's more appropriate for their locale, and they can even speak in their own language. If you want to give a presentation from Berlin in German about ASP.NET, that's great. We want to support you. We want to grow .NET and show that it's not just something that Americans in the Pacific Northwest are building and working on. We want to open those tent flaps, get everybody involved and excited about the cool things that we're doing with .NET. How about that heat wave? Heard it's going to end today. Mr. Regs, it's continuing. My wife and daughters are out working at the local horse ranch, and it took a lot of Powerade with them, a lot of things to keep them cool, a lot of water, and we'll see how they do today. Meanwhile, I'm in here coding. All right. So that's what's going on with .NET Conf. If you're interested in speaking as part of .NET Conf, there's a button here. I'm interested in speaking. Go ahead and click there and you can submit. Anybody can click through and speak. If you have good content, if you have a topic that's interesting, right? You know, don't submit Intro to ASP.NET Core, because the fact is, the folks that build ASP.NET Core, the program managers and engineers, are going to be part of speaking on the first 2 days. So that's not going to get you in the door. ASP.NET Core with cognitive services. That might be interesting. All right, we'll take a look at something like that. So take a look. Sponsored by the .NET Foundation. All kinds of great folks. Android, iOS, Linux, Mac, Azure. Great support all over the place. Check it out. All right. So let's get into this. Let's get to some code here. Let me bring up my sound effects. Let's do this. That's right, Ric Flair. We've had a lot of pull requests over the past week or two for the Core Wiki project, and we went through and we analyzed and worked on a lot of these. We've got just a few left here, and the first one here really zooms in. There we go, back over to full screen view. Yeah, see, I knew we wouldn't have as many viewers here today because we're right on that holiday week, and a lot of folks are out and about with family. But the first one here from I think this is EM Triple. Is he still in the chat room? Yeah, there he is. About extracting interfaces for database context. This is a big one for setting up what we're about to do. And Stealth Hacker, you're right. You're right. There's a security PR here from Ashley. And I also like what Ashley put together here for unit testing for model validation. This one I think is really important, not just for testing, right? Let's zoom in here a little bit. Extracting interfaces from DB context. This I think is not just important for testing, but it's also going to be important when we want to swap out database providers. Right now we're so tightly coupled to SQLite that when we do scale up, when we do deploy to Azure and we say, you know what, let's use Azure Table Storage, let's use Azure Blob Storage, being able to swap out how those repositories interact with our storage model, this is going to be a critical piece to make that, to enable that without changing a lot of our code. Agents of Shield web forms. little bit, little something there. All right, let's see here. Let me go back over to my sound effects. So we've got that running. So let's start off. I want to take a look at these two from Ashley. Let me just make sure there's nothing else new here. All right. And then we'll tackle this one, and then I want to talk about building diffs into our article history capabilities so that you can not just view the history of an article, but also compare changes between two different versions. And I found I think, pretty good NuGet package that'll handle that for us. So that's what's on the agenda here. I'm going to tackle this one third. Yes, you missed it, Janesco. I was just showing that. Hey, Dev Chatter, thank you for the host. And there's our friend Steve applauding. He's so happy. Anyways, all right. So I want to. You know what? I'm actually going to start in reverse order than I normally do. I'm going to start with the newest pull request here about anti-forgery handling for CSRF protection. Now, CSRF, right? That's right. CSRF cross-source request. No, this is different from XSS, right? Which is cross-site scripting. This is a cross-site request forgery. I think that's what CSRF is. All right, let me just... CSRF is... yeah, cross-site request forgery, which is kind of like cross-site scripting. But this is when you make you're forging a request to a different site. And, yeah, this is... what Ashley has brought here is a global anti-forgery token validation and removing the anti-forgery token on logout. So, on the logout page, looking for a cookie named ASP.NET Core anti-forgery. If it is there, delete it. Because what Ashley has added here is in the global filters for MVC. Now, this is a feature that was present in MVC prior to ASP.NET Core and was carried forward into ASP.NET Core is the concept of a request filter. Now, I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, that's fine. So a request filter allows you to intercept the request before the action starts in MVC and execute some code. And when the action completes, execute some more code. And what Ashley has added here is a global filter that applies to every action in MVC. Hey, is that Geordie Stew, UK? Good morning. Actually, if you're in the UK, good afternoon. Now, the global filter says apply this to everything regardless of interactions here on the system. And the auto-validate anti-forgery token attribute means that whenever there's a post, it's going to check to make sure that the anti-forgery token has been properly satisfied. Sweden and the Swiss are playing in the World Cup. Yes, they are. And a little bit later is... what's the other half of that? It's not gonna... it's... oh gosh. It's the other half of... who else was in that group with Germany? Well, Mexico, but they lost to Brazil yesterday. I can't remember. I can't remember who the second game is today in the World Cup. So, all this is doing is validating and taking care of the anti-forgery capabilities. And that anti-forgery token is generated for us automatically and inserted into every form. Let me show you what this looks like before I merge it. So I'm just going to grab this real quick. Open a command prompt, jump over to PowerShell. Hey, Gene Mars, welcome. Sweden and Mexico were in the Germany group. Yeah, then who's the second game today? All right. What do I have here? This was yeah. Jump back over. Let's go to my dev branch. Pull that in. Colombia versus England. Is that tonight? And Japan versus Belgium. Yes, that was exciting yesterday. The Japanese were a class act. Very, very well done by them. How they handled themselves compared to some other clubs at the event. Okay. That +1 is the app data folder, which okay with. Let's bring down Ashley's changes here so we can take a look. Fantastic. That was quick and easy, mostly painless. Yeah, I have a feeling, right, this is gonna, that was the last Asian team, wasn't it? Question, do you still dev on my Yoga or on my Surface Book 2? How come you do it that way around? I'm looking to buy a 15-inch Surface Book 2, but it's a lot of cash. I dev on both of them. They're really great machines. When I'm away from my desk, I am all over that Surface Book 2. I really enjoy developing on it. The Yoga is very nice, a 4K display. I like the layout of the keys on the Yoga. But what I've run into is I've got a new Dell workstation that I've got running here on my desk at home, and I've got a fat NVIDIA card in this thing, and a ton of RAM. Right, there you go, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060, and it's just screaming with the latest i7, ton of RAM on board, and everything now runs great locally here on this one machine. So for the purposes of the stream and having a little bit of stability, and not having to deal with wireless and a couple other things, it's running really nice on just this one machine here. But I still I have the Surface Book set up, and I have the Yoga set up next to me when I need to test on other machines. And also when I'm on the road, I bring those two machines and I'll develop using those two. And the reason that I use two machines when I'm using the laptops is because the i7 on the Surface Book 2 15-inch is not enough power to run full Visual Studio and do the encoding for OBS. It's not. It's a great device, and when I use I use an external video card. I use a Elgato video capture to connect them. It works amazing. So Gordy's, is it Gordy or Jordy? I'm gonna guess Jordy. So yeah, you know what? And Visual Studio Code, SQL Server Express, Jordy. Okay. I put I have all those things running on the Yoga, and it works great. Really love that device. In the Surface laptop, I got video glitch. Well, it's more display glitch when watch video in Edge or some channels. So my daughter had a Surface Book 1. She bought with her own money, saved up her money from work for more than a year, and went and bought a Surface Book 1. I bumped her up to the next level, that next SKU that she couldn't afford, right? She saved up for like the second lowest one. Dad paid for her to get the next one up. And we had to take it back last week because it had that yellow discoloring coming up on the edges. And they tell me that that's the glue inside the display coming undone. But it's still under warranty, replaced it, no problem, and the new device doesn't have that issue. Really nice device. ATA on by default makes a job a lot harder. Windows Server 2019 is great. Haven't worked with the new Windows Server yet. Is MS really going to kill off the Surface phone again? You know, I've heard they're delaying it. Full disclosure, that's not my division. I don't have any insight there. I do not speak for the company when it comes to devices like Surface and Surface Phone or whatever that is that they're seeing out there. I'm not familiar with that at all. Andromeda, I honestly, I don't know what that is. I was a huge fan of the Windows Phone. Where is it? My Windows Phone is over here. I mean, here's how much of a fan of Windows Phone I am. Let me see if I can get this out here. Because I have a pile of phones here. My friend Richard Campbell calls it the The drawer of broken dreams. Andromeda OS is Core OS in Windows 10. Alright. Hey, whatever. This is an old school HTC from, there you go, Windows Phone. I really enjoyed using this for a better part of a year or so, but now it's not supported, runs an old version of Windows Phone 7, and it's just a disaster. But I've actually got the Verizon Pocket PC phone. Look at that. Here, let's go to a fuller screen so you can see this thing. Da, da, da. Look at this thing. Ho ho! Oh wait, it gets better, friends. Look at that. And boom! Keys! Oh yeah. And it runs a full operating system that looks just like Windows 95 with the start button and everything. And doesn't even power up anymore. I would need to plug it in, it's not charged. But I was a huge fan of Windows Phone. Loved the device, really loved the ease of not having to get in and be so focused in using 16 different apps so I can see all the different statuses of my friends and what all they're up to. I really enjoyed having one place in the People Hub to get all of that information. So there you go, there's my Windows Phone bits. I don't know what they're doing, I don't know what they're planning. I'd love to see a new Windows device that has that ease of use. I'm finding that I really want to spend time reviewing issues on GitHub and triaging those on my phone. And I carry an iPhone 7 Plus. I'd love to be able to do that type of triage on a more mobile optimized display. Maybe there's an opportunity for a PWA there or something. Anyways, I want to show you what this looks like with the changes that were introduced here by Ashley. It's Windows Insiders to feedback issues on the OS. So here's the look and feel, and if I F12 into this, I've got a type error from Simple MDE. Simple MDE isn't even open right now, so I'm okay with that. If we look, so there is no form here, so it's not going to have the anti-forgery token. But if we look now, look at all that script. Ugh. Where is the form? It should be somewhere in here. Form method post. On no validate equals no validate, and there should be, there it is, request verification token. You see it down there at the bottom? So there's this ugly token that's generated for us automatically, inserted into the form, and when you submit now, it's going to make sure that that token has been untouched. Probably wouldn't hurt though, anti-forgery token expiration doesn't affect security that much. No, but it does. Wait, token expiration, yeah. Do you think we should set expiration? I don't know. No, I don't think that's that big a deal. The glitch I see in Surface Laptop after latest Fastring Insider build, it's helpful to found. Sure, I've actually backed off on the Insider builds with Windows 10 because I use Docker so much. I found that the two of them were stepping on each other. So if I wanted to have reliable interactions with Docker, I had to back off on the Windows 10 installs. In fact, this machine doesn't even have... I'm still on 1709. I haven't had the, what is it, 1803 pushed on me yet. Sika, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. And Steve, good to see you again. So I haven't had the new version pushed on me here. I've even done the little thing to request it inside of Windows Update, and I still haven't gotten it. So the anti-forgery tokens here, I'm okay with. You know, it makes sense to have this validate, save, and it looks good. That's funny. Back to home. Huh? I think that's supposed to go to there, but it's not. Hey, Benefice. So I think we might have something here that's not handling appropriately. That's not what I'm here for right now. I'm going to merge that change on the anti-forgery token. And it removes it on logout, so that's fine. All right. Thanks for the contribution. Cool. All right, take a look at the next one. R.H. Sumner, thank you for the subscription. I really appreciate you using your Twitch Prime here with us. And that's a reminder, if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link it to your Twitch account. It becomes a Twitch Prime account free, and the advertisements that you see everywhere on Twitch, the embedded advertisements, all go away. You don't have to do anything special for that. It's all wrapped up with your Amazon Prime subscription, and you can then get a free subscription to any channel here on Twitch. If you decide to use your subscription, your free channel subscription here with me, I'll match that subscription and make a donation to Girl Develop It. So thank you for the follow, and thank you for the subscription, R.H. Sumner. Hey, there's our friend Ben Howarth. Hey, Benjamin, good to see you. I don't think have I seen you here on the stream? All right. What are you thinking there? Stand by reloading. I see you with pondering. Yes, it is. It is the afternoon, isn't it, Ben? All right. So here's last one from Ashley this today. Extends the use of data annotation at current, but can completely replace them. We want to enable unit testing for model validation. Create separation of concerns, easier to unit test validators. And this is something that I was slacking on, and I'm happy to see that Ashley has stepped up and decided to fill some of the gaps here to start unit testing our models. So Ashley has brought the mocking framework into our unit test project and introduced a unit test for the article object. A couple of tests there, and brought Fluent validation into the core wiki project, along with some globalization for that validator here. So that's nice. I've also not focused on localization and globalization, so I appreciate the effort to bring in some of these features. So the article. The topic removed the required and max length features here as an attribute. Now, were they added somewhere else? Article validator object. So, okay, so you've added an article validator object here using the Fluent validation. So my thought here is the presence of these attributes here, required and max length, they affect the construction of this field in the database, right? It makes it not null. It makes it varchar 100. And by using the Fluent validation here, does it provide that same capability, that same influence on the construction of our entity framework objects? Yeah. Now we can go through and test this, and we could regenerate the migrations and see what happens. See how it defines those, how it rebuilds those fields. That's my concern is, I'm scrolling around too fast here. My apologies. there it is that removing this may inadvertently change the entity framework behavior. The other place that could be defined is inside of our database context. And I don't see a change to database context here. So let's do this. Let's bring this one down and take a look at it locally. We already have to anyway because there's a conflict in startup. So I'm going to git checkout. Let's back up one. I'm going to remove the branch there from Ashley. And I agree with you, EM Triple. I'd really appreciate if Ashley could join us here on a stream. I don't know if they're in a different time zone and it's difficult to hop on here. I'd like to thank them. They made tremendous contributions here to our project. So if you're out there, Ashley, we'd love to talk to you a little bit about some of the things you're working on here because we really appreciate them. And we'd like to also discuss some things like this one where we kind of have a question about how that interacts. Let's see. I think I have another branch or two out there I want to get rid of. Yeah, let me get rid of that one from emo. And then I will pull here. And let's bring this down on the command line. Take a look. Oh, you mentioned me jumping in. How are you set for Friday? Oh! So Fridays, Ben, Fridays are typically F# Fridays, where we do a lot of F#. And we have, for those of you in the chat room, I've reached out to Ben and asked him if he'd like to join us and talk a little bit about web performance. So Fridays aren't good because I'm typically focused on F#. Let's take this offline and we can discuss timing. I think next week could be a little bit tricky because we should be getting ready for our workshop next Friday. So I think a week or two after that we'll be in great shape. Yep, that's him. That's my twisted my twisted doppelganger, F# Fritz. And he thinks he's all functional like that, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. Stay with object-oriented and stick with C# Fritz, that F# guy. I don't know what to think of him. So the changes here, it looks like that are colliding. It's just a collision between introducing some using statements. And I think I want to include both. And we're okay with that. Right? If I... Not .NET. Gosh. If I .NET build, this should still work here. Shouldn't we do something like this to do validation testing? Validating entities using data annotations or Fluent API. So let's take a look. You might be onto something. What do we got? Can't verify and test my database by in-memory providers. For example, I set these properties as required, blah, 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 blah. And this in my DB context. Okay. There. And this in my unit test. Ow. Too much code. You've gone way too much here. But the unit test method always returns 1 and passes. EF core doesn't do any validation of entities beyond what is needed for internal consistency. Validation is something that could be done in an entity framework, but experience shows that is not something that is useful to many developers because it usually cannot replace client-side validation, database validation, blah 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 blah. There's one way to check validation attribute in iValidate object. iValidatable object by overriding save changes. Doesn't it do the validate anyway? I was looking at implementing this, and it works great for data annotations, but anything I've set up via the Fluent API isn't validating. You would need to implement those checks yourself. Your validate method could use the model metadata available. So there we go. Thank you, Brave Cobra. If we do move things out of the annotation, use the Fluent API to do the configuration. So to exactly what I was suggesting, here in on-model creating, where we're defining some of the properties, some of the constraints around our object, what was removed from the article around max length here on the topic, we can now bring back over here in application DBContext, and it won't interfere. So that change, there it is. Required and max length 100 on the topic. I can place down on the object, and that'll work. Okay, that's fine. Now the other thing is it, so we're creating this validator. Does that validator get included and used by my, right? Because this thing is coming in, right, using Fluent validation. Does this also get applied by, does it also get used in my Razor page for the generation of validators as well? I'm not familiar with this library. So let's check that. All right, so we made, so topic was required and had a max length of 100. So let's go back over here. All right, so here's the entity, has that index. Can't I also, can't I specify, yeah, here we go, property, and then start specifying configuration of that. Right, like that. Yeah, property name is, what was it, title? And then I think, property article, property, what can I say, article dot, no, T property, the type of the property to be configured. Sure. I haven't used this before. Well, it's a string, so let's say string. Function, article, string. Alright. So let's say prop. Yeah, I haven't returned it yet. I need to return a string. Alright. So prop, title, topic, that's what it was. Yeah, how do I write the entity framework core Fluent configuration? No. This one. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Has key, property, and then all the things hanging off of it. All right, so I think I need to do this as a separate. It's been forever since I've done Fluent validation like this. So model builder, entity, article, dot property. Now I'm going to give it the name, topic. Okay. I want to say required is required. True. And then isn't there like a has max length? Yeah, there it is. 100. Cool. CPT Sharpie, Captain Sharpie, thank you for the subscription. Of course, I'll match that subscription, and we'll make that donation to Girl Develop It. Awesome, thank you so much. No strings, please. Good point, open window. Good point. If you make an extension to Twitch before 22nd and it's verified, you are eligible for Jam. What's Jam? I agree with the no. I'm fine with that. So let's go like this. And we'll do that so we get hard-coded there. It was in Twitch dev announcement. Ashley! Hey! Oh my gosh, thank you for joining us. Wow, thank you. You've made some amazing changes here. You can also do these Fluent API stuff inside an entity type configuration file. Cool. All right. I haven't looked at. I haven't seen the Twitch dev announcement, and I'm in the middle of working on an extension with some of the folks there from Twitch. We're looking at the Fluent configuration that you dropped in here for validation. This one. I really like the unit tests that you've brought. My concern is that the validation in removing these two, it doesn't generate the it won't generate the table constraints in SQLite for us appropriately. So I'm re-adding those constraints here so that Entity Framework will enforce those and create those constraints in the database table, and I can run those unit tests you created now. Article validator test. They already ran actually for me. Look at that. All right, so build, and that should run after build automatically for me. There it goes. Article map. Yes, you can create that as a separate object. And create those little sidecar classes. So all the tests ran, they completed. Looks good there. Let's run this and make sure that it actually does validate those couple of validation checks that you put in place there. Because I'm not familiar with, what was the library you brought in? It was not there. Here, NuGets, Fluent validation. I'm not familiar with the Fluent validation. Does come across for Razor views. Fantastic. So if we edit, and we delete that, yeah, good stuff. Lets you test them easier without running the whole project. Very cool. RH Sumner, I'm not sure I like having model rules defined in multiple places. The max length value is set on the Fluent rule builder and again on model creating. You make a good point there, RH. Can I call you RH? You make a very good point. We've taken... They are two different concerns, right? One is for the database and one is for the client-side validation. But you're right. We've spread around that capability. Where did that go? You created, it was like an article validator, right? Where did it go? It is article validator, and it's being added transient here. And it's an abstract validator for the article. You don't actually need both if you do that data annotations on your entities. Agreed. I changed the max length attribute and tried to generate a new migration, but there were no EF changes, and that was using data annotations. Yeah. The documentation that we saw is validating entities or Fluent API is that if you have it set up with Fluent API, it does not do the validation. It doesn't do that client-side validation like how you've constructed. And that's okay. That's fine. But this is a way for us to ensure that we create the constraint in there. No, I think Fluent validation is nice. It brings a good flavor here. But I like where did it go? I like what standby reloading is suggesting there, is that we also do the entity type configuration here. But I think entity type configuration is an abstract class, isn't it? Right? I'm thinking entity type configuration. Entity type configuration. So we might be able to do them both in one class, right? So if this is entity type configuration on the article, implement the interface, is same as doing it in the model binding. You're right about the alter columns. Yeah. Hopefully that'll go away when we change this. We're programming the UI against the database model, which is a violation in DDD land. Agreed. So there's a whole nother thing there. So, okay, let's back up. We got a couple people chatting about this. And Janescu, let me come to your comment here in a couple minutes here. What Ashley's bringing here is the ability to unit test that the model is being validated properly. And I think what Brave Cobra and Standby Reloading are driving at here is because our user interface uses the same object that we put in the database, and we're not using a view model or a read model yet, we're running into this type of collision where we're trying to validate how that object, how that view model is interacting, and it's the same as our database model, and this separation is introducing some complexity here. I want to understand DDD. Where do I start? Next Friday, here, Julie Lerman and a whole bunch of other folks are going to be joining us for our architecture workshop. So I think you can also... I don't think I want to take this right now, because where I think we want to go with it, I like validating, I like creating this Fluent validation, but I think we need view models to separate the logic. Is I think the next step we need to take before we implement this. So I'm going to put that into the conversation here, and let's introduce. Yeah, there we go. View models so that we can separate the web interaction from the database persistence and prevent exposing sensitive data, as well as restricting access to those fields, right? So, yeah, was that a plug? I think so. I'm allowed to do that. This is my channel. I'm allowed to plug. Absolutely. Yeah, next Friday is when we should be having our architecture workshop. I need to finish coordinating some of the folks, but Miguel Castro, Julie Lerman, there's a few folks that are going to be online with us. It should be a real good time. And there's also commands here you can see that are hiding there. If you ask questions that the bot knows how to answer, it will answer them. This week, Friday, start some road racing event in my hometown. Okay. And there was a question from Janescu. When the card is created, should it use adaptive cards? I'm going to hold off on that one because I've talked to the program manager who's in charge of the Windows adaptive cards capability. And I think that's a great opportunity for him to get involved and show some of those new Windows features with CoreWiki. The domain is simple enough to demonstrate DDD, although it may look like overkill in this case. I completely agree, Brave Cobra. But when we start thinking about, over here, Distant Kim, thank you for the follow. When we start thinking about something like Ashley found here, whereas a guest now, because we're stamping that author's name, author's ID on the article. If you're a guest, if you're not logged in, I don't know what to stamp, right? I don't know what to put on that article record. So, good find, but it leads to a discussion of, should guests be able to create articles? And then if they do, they should probably be subject to some moderation or workflow, and maybe we configure that. And that workflow, that is great DDD capabilities. One can watch these videos offline later. Yes, you can, WorldWake. They'll be posted on my YouTube channel, and they're also available as videos on demand here on Twitch. Your choice. You can look at either. The videos, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to suggest separating a database model from UI. You can just make page model the view model and map the database model to it. That's another way, Banifus. Absolutely. There you go. YouTube Jeffrey Fritz. Or now I'm at you. I got the YouTube channel I wanted. You can also go to youtube.com/C#Fritz, and it'll take you to the same place. Haha. So this is going to be real good to solve, and I think that workflow is going to be something really cool to do with DDD. And this one from Emo is going to be, there you go, is going to be helpful in building that because we're so tightly coupled right now to Entity Framework. When we do start to break that out into different storage using concepts like DDD, working directly with the database isn't going to work. It's going to start to confuse things. So Emo has gone through, and 24 files changed. Oh yeah, I believe it. And started abstracting that away. Now, you created an in-memory DBContext. I'm not... Okay, so this is a database context application, DBContext, and you're using... Okay. All page tests on get populates the page model with a list of articles. Okay, so you've created some more unit tests here. Cool, okay. But I'm looking for the abstraction. Get articles to create. Instead of taking an application DB context, takes an iApplication DB context. Okay. Okay, so you've separated it out into an interface. Come on. Hide those white space. There we go. So application DB context implements iApplication DB context. And there's the interface. Articles, comments, slug histories, and save changes. Okay. So we're still coupling directly to Entity Framework. that could be a problem, and we may need to refactor further. We'll continue. Create comments now. Right, so all these pages now are referencing the interface instead of the direct concrete application DB context, and that's okay. Interface, yep. I don't see anything here that's dramatic that we need to be concerned about, but here we are in startup. So changing add DB context pool, application DB context, so you're creating the mapping. Can I get Eric Evans on stream to talk about DDD? I have had that suggestion. Not sure if I can get him, but I will take that suggestion. And this is just doing just getting the context there. So this actually looks like it's an okay change to get us moving in that direction. But for the purposes of being flexible enough to get to DDD, we're not. We can abstract even further, I think. And W Veins, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. CI setup yet using AppVeyor Travis? I have not. I have that configuration out there, and I can wire it up, and I just haven't yet. Let me pull this down. Let's make sure that the tests work, and we also have a merge we have to do here inside of our startup. I have a feeling that's not going to be too difficult to do. Let me grab this. Alright, so let me bounce back over. Yeah, I know. That's fine. I added it already. We'll do that. And we'll do this. Because I'm just going to delete it. Alright, and this was... So... And I think, Ashley, I think you understand where I'm going with let's separate out and introduce view models. And I like what Banifus was suggesting. Just make the page model the view model. And then we can put the validation directly on the page model. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. We could make the page models the view models and put this Fluent validation directly on those objects. But the problem there is then all of the fields from my article become, I guess it's not too bad, become the different properties on that. That's not bad. My front-end apps or front-loading apps should not know what my repo looks like. Agreed. As we scale up, I think that makes perfect sense. Pages should use services. Services should use repositories. As we scale the architecture, yes. At where this is right now, that would be, I would consider that over architecture. Where we're taking it to, yes, absolutely. I think that's where we need to be. Do you think no merge yet and possibly let others PR my branch first to better refactor? Yeah, let's do that. Let's skip merging this. Let's abstract this a bit further so that we are, so that our web application is not directly interacting with Entity Framework. This way we can refactor to include micro services, service bus, queues, and other architectures. Cool. All right. So gosh, I turned down two merges, 2 PRs today. That feels terrible. But I think we can agree that there's just a little bit more we want out of both of those features. And without a little bit of discussion, yeah, I'm sorry to turn it down, to decline. But there's just a little bit more in how we want that refactored to finish that feature. And without that discussion, without me being clear on that discussion about exactly where those features, at least the abstraction feature, should get to, yeah, I have to decline it. But the other one from Ashley, that was completely unsolicited. I love the idea, but I think the folks in the chat room are right here. It's starting to break up what is simple validation at this point and make it a little bit too hard to maintain. And I think, and it looks like that's something we might be able to continue to use if we just move that Fluent validation to the page model, and we keep our validation that we have on the entity framework object. Yeah. All right. So this isn't where I want to be. So now I want to talk about diff. So I've been working on this project here for versions and ratings. We haven't really touched on the ratings, but track changes is something that I had started on, and there's an article history object out there in the repository in the versions and ratings. What am I missing here? What did I do? Live unit testing, all right. Make sure everything built. And cool. So everything builds, everything looks okay. But I have this concept of page history, right? That we started, article history. And we should be able to start looking at putting a history link inside of our articles and be able to track information about what changed each time. And I'm right now, right, when we think about effectively almost mini source control on these, I don't have any concept of a reason for the change. I just have, here's the change that was made without any comments. That may be something we want to add. Just a description and reason and comments for the change. I'm not going to dig into that right now. I want to go back over to the pages and go find details here. So right now our details page, oh heck, let's just start it. Yeah, gosh, EM Triple, go ahead and put a link to your test branch there in the chat room so folks can find it easily. What I'd like to do is right now we just have these couple buttons down here, and when we merge into dev, right, I should actually merge down from dev. I should merge in from dev, right? If I get merge dev, should look better with our new header look here. Ah, look at that. Nice. The back to home button here looks like is being over-presented. Yeah, it's not looking at the right slug. There we go. Anyways, so we've got, I like the little metadata up here. That's kind of cool. But I think we can also put a link up here for article history, and then have it jump into a page that shows you, for this article, here's the changes, and be able to select 2 of them and get a diff. And that's where I'd like to go. What do you think, chat room? Does that sound like a cool feature, right? To allow us to track the changes here, and then at some point we'll want to be able to roll back to a previous version, make previous version the current version, those types of things. But for right now, I just want to be able to view the history, how a page has changed. Sounds good. All right.
Do it!
That's what RH Summer says. All right, we'll do it, RH. So I'm going to create an article history. Are we going to do event sourcing? Oh, I think we will. I think we will. And then we can bring on some of the event sourcing folks. Yep, separate history page. So I absolutely think event sourcing is coming.
It can be done exactly how I want it.
It will.
The only question is, are you the man to do it?
Yes, Walter White, I am. Oogway77, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us here on stream. When you get to rollback bits, you'll want to make sure to have some rules in place to prevent rollback, roll forward wars. Tell you what, create an issue talking about that. Let's discuss that. That's a very good comment there, Standby Reloading. I'm in the middle of... Okay, let me show you this before I start writing some of the code here. Where is it? Stack Overflow, login, whatever. There I am. I've only got 7,000 points on Stack Overflow. I'm such a poser. 7 golds though. That's nice. There was a question I answered about using Microsoft Access for an enterprise database. And I'm literally in the middle of a war between folks who really like Access and folks who don't. Let's see, where is it? See if I can find it real quick here. It's something that I answered a long time ago. I mean, look at this, 2009. But they had to eventually lock the question. And I don't see it. It might be near the top of my activities. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. I answered a lot of questions while I was working for Telerik, can you tell? I don't see it. Access, website. I don't see it. Wonder if they deleted the question, because it got downright nasty. Oh, there it is. Is MS Access Jet suitable for multi-user? Yes, yes, yes. From C#. Hey, nice handle. Yeah, here we go. Look at this. There is so much misinformation in the answers in this thread, I don't know where to start. The Jet database engine is built from the ground up to be multi-user. It is, but it locks the database. It locks the file. It is possible, but it will lock the file. Period. If the file is locked, you're done. So, it doesn't matter. So this got voted down by so many people. It's ridiculous. Look at this, 15 and -9. So, and people don't want to acknowledge that files get locked on an operating system, and Jet doesn't know how to unlock it if it's locked by an external process. Period. There's no discussion about that. If an external process locks the Jet database, you're done. So, thanks for the link there, csharp.net. Ashley Broughton says, could have a couple different views for that. I imagine most end users wouldn't be comfortable with a diff-style comparison. Yes, I completely agree, Ashley. A view that displays both articles fully rendered side by side. Yes, yes, yes! Wait till you see what I've got to do this. Perhaps diff using Google Diff Match. I was looking at that dev lead, and I think I've got a better one. Boston sports joke. Is it possible to have a lung collapse and then have it not collapse? Is it possible to have a bloody sock and not have to wash it? I've used it a lot for multi-user apps. I also had to stop using it for web apps for that reason. Yes. Is it possible to have a multi-user database that locks the database? If you have an MDF file sitting on disk, it's one file that's the database, and if the only thing accessing it is your .NET application, and you have multiple threads accessing it, if one of those threads locks the database, it will block other people from using it. And that's the same thing that happens with other databases. But since it's one file, you're locking the entire database. Nobody can do anything. Additionally, because it's one file, the file system can lock that one file because it doesn't have a server operation that's managing interaction with it. Same thing can happen with SQLite. Exact same thing can happen with the SQLite database. Rollback Wars sounds like an indie game. Yeah, you're right. That's the one I was looking for. Jet database does have record level locking. It does, and in 99% of circumstances, it does work. But I've been at organizations where the virus scan came by and it locked the file and didn't release, or database or file system backup came through and it locked the file, and you're done. Same thing can happen to a SQLite database, absolutely. Yep. Leo Streams, thank you for the follow. And hey, Murica's Wow. All right, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like that avatar today. Great nick there. Great nickname, Murica's Wow. So what I found, who was suggesting Google Diff Patch, Match Patch? That was DevLead. What I found, I went out to NuGet and I found Diffplex, was that it? Yeah, here it is. So this is from our friend Andrew Arnott, and I'm not sure who Manila is. But this has all the Match Patch does a lot of things. This one, right? Very simple code. It's built in C#. Blah, 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 blah. Side-by-side differ interface. All right. And he's already got code to do the website side by side. Boom. This is my gaming handle. No worries. Not a problem. Everybody's allowed to be here. All right. So I think this, right, and he's even got the highlight through the text that matches. So I'm going to use this one, which does support .NET Standard, so it will work on .NET Core. I'm going to use this library to do my diff on the history page. But first things first, let's start building that history page, and then we can dial in the diff, right? And I think it'll be like a history diff page, or perfect example of the beauty of open source. Amen, EM Triple. Amen. There we go. Got to find a appropriate. All right, so I'm going to create a Razor page. No, I don't want a scaffold. Let's just create a Razor page. And let's call this history. Why am I installing? Of course I've got the NuGet packages. What's the difference? Oh, Mage D. Welcome. What is the difference between HTML and CSHTML? What are some advantages? Glad you asked. Before I answer that, Mud ID Poor Wall? Not quite sure. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you joining us. Mage D, what's going on here? Regular HTML, of course, is static. It's not parsed by any code, and it's just presented by the web server. CSHTML is what .NET developers, ASP.NET developers like myself, we call a Razor, either a Razor template or a Razor page, and it uses that same type of that's not a good example. It uses that same type of insertion of server-side code that will be interpreted and injected right here, like you see on line 18. So just like you might do in PHP, or maybe in some Node.js templating, where you'll specify, on the server, insert code here, the result of this code execution right here. We can do the same thing with our .NET code, and we specify, this is using C# syntax, we specify the start and end of our C# code, well, the start of our C# code with the @ symbol here, right? So everything, and you can, if the contrast is set high enough on your display here, you'll see that model article topic has a slightly gray background to indicate it's being executed on the server. This is server code, and the Razor templating system is smart enough to know that the /h2, the end tag here, is changing back into HTML that we're going to wrap it with. Similarly, I can use @ and then curly braces to define a section of code that I want it to execute. So I hope that explains, that helps out a little bit here to the difference between CSHTML and regular HTML. Now, I could certainly use regular HTML here and connect to a backend service, fetch that data using a little bit of JavaScript, and format it on the page using Angular or Vue or React. Absolutely. But I'm doing some server-side integration here for this. I do have some ongoing discussions with folks about using trying to use Angular for some of the formatting here, Angular or Vue, and I think that might be a fun discussion to have some of those folks on who specialize in those technologies and talk about how to use those cool frameworks here. No problem, HD. I'm happy to answer it for you. Feel free to clip that little bit and save it off here on Twitch so that folks can follow up and learn that as well, or if you want to be able to reference it later or whatever. So here's my page model. Now, right, a page model, code cleanup is not configured. Don't do that right now. So my page model is a model that will load up and present some of the data that we need for this template. I'm going to create a constructor here that's going to receive my application DB context, so it knows how to access the database. I'll control dot to get my using statements built. And let's say this dot DB context equals this, and I'll generate that. Let's create it as a read-only property. Just launch a C# learning stream for beginners if you're not familiar with C#. Yeah, it's a series of C# streams. So I didn't realize there was a collections capability. All right, so now I've got my application DB context allocated, so I can go and actually get the name of this. Oh, the Swedes took a lead on the Swiss. Look at that. Thanks for the update, Janescu. So, right, there's that feature now in ASP.NET Core around routing, right? We see that with other other web frameworks that say, you know, based on this requested address, here's the actual code to run. And I have my routing configured. Dear Lord, that's a lot of using statements. And this startup file is getting a little bit crazy. A lot of stuff going on in here. There's, right, I mean, look at all these things that we're configuring now in our service. But here, here's my page routing, right? Saying if someone goes to /some page edit, we're going to go to the edit page and we'll pass in that slug information, right? The slug is the identifier for our page. I want to add another one here for history so that it knows how to find that. So add, that's not it, add page, that one. Arthur Shvetsov. Thank you for the follow, Arthur. Appreciate you joining us. I look forward to seeing you in the chat room. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have, or if there's something you want to work on here with us on stream, let me know. So we'll have our slug, capitalize that, and it's this /history. So that's the page, right? This is what the URL is going to look like. So it might be something, right, like, you know, FIFA World Cup 2018 /history, and then we'll get into that history page that lives at history. All right. Now, if we look at how things like the edit do this, right? So let's close all but this, and I'm going to open the way that edit does this, just so you can see. So, oh my gosh. Hey, thank you for the follow, Ashley. All right, so on get async, right? So string wants you to have, pass in the slug, right? Pass in what it is that you're requesting and have that right there on page. You know what I'm going to do while I'm here? I've got to do something real quick. Would you mind giving me just a second? There's something I want to make sure I do here. Where is it? Where is it? I should be able to do this from my dashboard over here. I don't see it. I want to make sure. Come on, come on, here we go. That's better. It was from a Swiss player, like, oh no, redirection into their own net. Oh. There we go. And there we go. Right. Ta-ta-ta. I approve regardless. Oh no, I can't do this right now. Bummer. Alright, we'll have to come back to that later. It wasn't doing what I thought it was going to. Rats. Alright, go back to my dashboard. Take care of that later. So this slug here that this get method is receiving, this is coming off of the URL in that slot that we saw allocated. And let me reopen the startup. Right here, this is a template that says capture whatever this value is, put it into a variable called slug, and that's what's being passed in right here. So we're going to get, now we have the information about the slug. Now our edit page, of course, we're going to check to make sure that we have a slug, and then we have an article, and then return the page. That's fine, but we're going to do this slightly differently because we're returning all the history of this. So if slug is null, what we should do here is string is null or empty. Do that. And we'll return not found. This should return an I action result. good. And we should probably also do this asynchronous as a task. And I don't have an article yet because slugs are slow. Okay, fine, you got me there, WorldWake. I want to return two things here. I want to return the article and its history, so we can look at that. So I'm going to create properties here for the article. I'm going to make this read-only. And I'm also going to create the article history. Let's just call it history. Get private sets. Okay, so now it can only be set from within this page. All right, so if we don't have an article, this is now DBContext. Singular default async. Now, why is that? DBContext articles, yeah. Does not contain a definition for, oh, because I didn't bring in Entity Framework Core. There we go. All right, so if the article isn't found, return the article not found result. Gather PL. I'm not here from the beginning. Maybe it's a stupid question. Never a stupid question. Why have DBContext as a property, but an edit model as a private field? Fair enough. Sure, let's do that. Let's rename this. I'm fine with that. And then let's move it up there so it's above my constructor. Good point. For consistency, you're right, Gather PL. Let's do that. Thank you for calling me out on that. I appreciate that. All right, so I've checked to make sure that if I have an article, go find it. If I don't find an article, return the not found. Context for private fields. I actually like the uppercase. But all right, fine. I'll rename that. Running out of coffee. That's how I know it's almost time to end the stream. All right, let's do this. I need to get the article history. So history equals await. And actually, I should do both of these at the same time and then go return it. Right? So I'm doing two requests at the same time. Context, article histories. Where? Thank you for the follow, Wolfman. All right. Now, what is the shortcut I use to replace all references of context to context? Oh, that's the rename shortcut, and I pressed F2. Funny, it's not showing F2 on on Karnak down there. If you do Control period, gosh, it didn't give me the rename there also. But F2 will jump through to that right away, and you'll get the rename feature to pop up there. I believe. Nope, it doesn't. So yeah, F2 is the hotkey to jump through. I'm thinking, do I really want to make this request to the database when I don't know if the article actually exists yet? So maybe I was right going the other way. Look at all that Control Z. Yeah. So now I'm sure that there's an article. So now I can actually say await context article histories where, I'm not sure why they used an M here for this, right? I feel like I want to use something, oh, thank you, Devly. If you rename something, then control period, it gives you the option to rename the references. Yes. I'm going to look for, it's like article ID here. There it is. Equals article dot ID. So I'm sure that I have all of those references. And let's do a to array async so that I get those values. History, oh, this should be an IEnumerable so that I get all of the history records coming back. Good. And, right, I want to return view. Isn't that it? Right, what is it I return at the end? Page. I'm confusing myself between MVC. Control dot saves lives. Yes, it does. Doesn't it do that by default? It should. Right, if I control dot. Well, it should give you rename as part of that control dot. It should always give you rename. But rename's under F2. Or it might be under control RR. Yeah, control R twice will do it as well. Yep, there we go. All right, so now I've got all the histories loaded up and I'm returning the page. So now I can actually go format my page with information about the article, what the current version is, yada, yada, yada. And then I can start listing out, here's the versions, and then I can do the diff. So let's say history of at model. Let's do the same thing here. Let's change these to write this history of model dot article topic. There we go. Wrong model. Model article topic. Say article to article. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Now, if I wanted to have a little area up top here, right? Legend goes on. Isn't it like what is it? It's not. Is it field set? Is that what I'm thinking? Yeah. Span class equals. Isn't there a label here? I don't see label. Oh, I guess I could do a DD here too, right? Definition list. Definition term. Current title. Yeah, I don't need the field set then if I'm doing a DL, right? Sean, thank you for the follow. Field set needs a legend. Yeah. Will model contain a loaded article if not explicitly included with include? So I'm actually loading those two separately. I could actually, because I think article has a histories object on it, right? I'm explicitly loading the two. I could include history there directly when I load it. That's not a bad idea. Then I don't need to do that second fetch. Right, single or default. Yeah, it won't do, oh, I need to do the include first, I believe. Let's put that on another line. Include, and then navigation path. No, don't do that. A dot history. Cool. So it should include that automatically. Hi, Leonardo DiCaprio, says Mr. Unfriendly. Who's Leonardo DiCaprio? You can move those list inits to behind their properties instead of the constructor. List inits equals new list of thing. Yeah, sure. I don't have them in the constructor right now. Oh, these ones here. Sure. I'm not going to modify that right now because I don't want to make that's an unnecessary change for what I'm attempting to accomplish. But this simplifies things a bit here. Off to bed. No problem. Thanks for joining us, Ashley. We really appreciate all your contributions, and I think you see up there, you're on the scoreboard here, not Stream Tools. Let it roll over, and we'll see for Core Wiki. There we go, Core Wiki. Here it comes. Nothing for this week. Yes. But on the month, there we go. There's Ashley with 26, and then we should also see you on top for the week, I believe. Top all time, just behind Smab. There we go. So thanks so much. I know what I know of event sourcing. I don't really like the approach we're taking here. It'll change. Even with event sourcing, you're going to want snapshots of those individual changes to get the type of diff that we're going to affect here. But that model will hit here in a little bit. You know, I think we're going to hit event sourcing for this later in July. And I think we're not too far off of event sourcing. All right, so I have that data. Let's see. Current title is going to be at model, article, topic. Right? And now I can do the next one. What are the other? I don't need to show slug. Current version. And then I can say at model, article, version. Last update by, and then we can put not that model article. I'm not gonna be able to put, I just have author ID here. I don't have the join through to the author. I'm gonna leave that here for right now, because I want to get to the diff capability and the list of the histories. Need to replace with author information. Last updated, and then model, article, this one. Now, when we did that over in our details page, we included a little bit of markup. There we go. Span data value, so that we could get it formatted appropriately. So I will put that there. Gotta go. If you need assistance with the CI bits, happy to pair in the future. Cool, thank you. Nice hat. I've got a badge to match. Yeah, right? Like that. All right. Oops. There we go. Okay. So that should give me my little DL up at the top, and we'll do some formatting on that later. And let's do version history. And then create a little table. Yeah. We want this ahead. Let's Let's make this a T head with a TR. THs, right? Yeah. Version, change date, author. Now let's put author, then change. Author, version, then change date. Yeah. All right. T body. All right, now I can do a for each. RafX123, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you joining us. Look at that, we got up to 62 folks so far joining us. That's great. All right, so for each, let's call this history in model article history. So now I have a history record. Now I'm gonna just output a little TR with that data. But I wanna make sure we order this. Let's order this correctly. Order by descending. And I wanna order by the version number descending. So that we have most recent first. And, yeah, all right. So first is going to be at history dot, and I need to get the author. B Henry 677, thank you for the follow. You know what? I don't have the author of the change. Oh no. Well, that's a problem. Come back and fix that in a minute. History, next was the version. All right, so we'll have the version there. And then the change date, we'll do the exact same formatting that we have here, right there. And this will be history, I think published. Yep. And we'll do the exact same thing there. And we have that Noda time code out there that'll do some work on that. I know you're getting close to wrapping up. Could you give a bit of explanation of the functionality of .NET Philly? Sure. I'll roll over there and we'll take a look at that. Your view model ought to do the ordering for you instead of in the view if it can be helped. Well, I'm returning an article object right now. In the future, I could definitely see that being a thing. But the order of it presenting is definitely a view concern. It's not a business logic thing. So I'm okay with the ordering being done here. Now I need to get that author information. It's not in my history object, and that, I feel shame. How did I forget that? Article history. Yeah, I removed the author. Nuts. Might want to think about allowing for that order to be adjusted also. Yes. If you want to change, that sort, right? That's a preference. Absolutely, right? Being able to change that order. Yeah. I think that's definitely something we should include here. I don't have the author here. And I should load it. I'm going to add that property. Right, if I add public, it's a user, isn't it? Core wiki user. Yay. Because that's going to jump. That's going to jump databases the way that I have it structured right now. I see the problem. All right. At the very least, I need to make sure that that author ID is over here. Rats. If you output data in your CSHTML view, is it automatically escaped? Good question, Joe the Pro. It should be. It should be. I only need the name of the author. Agreed, Brave Cobra. And I want to keep track of the author ID, though, in these. And I have return new article history, and I need to put the author ID in here as well. So I have that, and then when it comes time to load the data, right, author ID, oh, it should be a GUID. Oops. Not the full author object. Agreed. Yes. So when I hydrate, I want to load those author IDs from my user manager. Oh, you're suggesting include the name in my article history as well. MVC traditionally included output by default. Yes, it does. It does HTML encoded by default. You can do different encodings if you'd like. Right, so when you see me do this, that is going to be HTML encoded by default. You have to, as President Not Sure is suggesting, you would have to escape that. But you're suggesting putting the author name in here as well. It's not terrible. It's a denormalization that I think I can, well, You don't want your aggregate to jump domains. It would break normalization, and the other thing, I'm thinking is it would be a GDPR thing. I would have to create a process that clears out the author name. I do have the article, but if the article author changes, I don't know who the author is. Exactly. If the author changes their name over time, I only care about what the author's name is now, right? The prime example of that is Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Do we refer to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar before he changed his name in today's record books as Lou Alcindor, or do we reference him as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Right? There's also, right, ladies that get married and change their surname. Right? My wife was Mrs. So-and-so before, now she's Mrs. Fritz. She changed her name. Do we record in the history the records were updated by Ms. So-and-so, and now it's Mrs. Fritz? Or do they all say Mrs. Fritz? Because that's what she's known as. Who? Oh, yeah. Right? Lou Alcindor, article history author. No! No! Well, there's an event history at that. Look at the records when she was a teenager. Right, so the records when she was a teenager. She's Ms. So-and-so. Absolutely. Back in right, the old printed high school yearbook, it says Ms. So-and-so. But in the professional records on Facebook and the things today, it says Mrs. Fritz. And similarly, if you're on Facebook and you look for her on the high school alumni page, it doesn't say Ms. So-and-so, it says Mrs. Fritz. Sweden's going through. All right. That is the history. We're just writing the author name. Right. Stand by reloading. I'm just going to put the author name in here. We'll simplify it for now. We'll figure it out more later. Oh, that's tough there, Janescu. In which case I should put the author's name into the article. Right, Brave Cobra. I would need to establish a process for that. There's author ID. I'm going to put author name in here as well. Public string author name get set equals there we go. Ooh, they got a red flag, red card. Author should be application user type. Then I'm jumping syntax. I'm jumping databases, and I think we're gonna see this get cleared up when we go to DDD with this. Yeah. All right. Author name equals article author name. That should build. And in history now, I can say history dot author name. Last update by author name. Can you make a shout out to Germany? I always do there, Dingeheimer fan. But guten Nachmittag, Deutschland. Great to see you. It was clear because Sweden player was in a breakaway and the Swiss player did not try to play the ball. Boy. Alright, so now everything builds. Yes, builds, good. Need to create that. Need to create our migration. .NET EF migrations. Add author name to article. I'm going to need to get going here shortly. I do have more than one DB context. Of course, I forgot that. Application, DB context. That's behind my head. Move it over here. Actually, an event source in the article will be the sum of all the changes in the history. It will, yes. If the article is our domain object, yes, yes. Cool. All right. So now I've got my migration. It should update the database, and we should get that object out there. It doesn't actually update the database because it's SQLite. But that should be a little bit better, at least. Let's check DB context. Article history. Yeah, good. Sweden wait now for their opponent from the evening game. Yeah. All right. I think we should be able to view some history now. I'm going to go into app data and clear this out. And let's restart here. Oh my gosh, Chrono803. Thank you for the subscription with your Twitch Prime. I appreciate that, and we'll match that subscription. Make a donation to our friends at Girl Develop It. So that women and underserved minorities can learn how to code, just like we're doing here. And enjoy using the C# bot, the .NET bot here, but the C# bot emote is what it is here in the chat room and everywhere. Please, Chrono, feel free to ask any questions. Anybody, ask questions. I'm more than happy to stop and answer your questions here. I'm getting an error here. Does not support this migration for drop foreign keys. Where's this one? It's not going to show me exactly where that migration error is. Let's take a look-see at my migrations. Somewhere in here there's a drop foreign key. And there's an add. There's a constraint in creating the foreign key. Right there. Well, that's annoying. It drops the foreign key on the article, adds the author name. Inserts the data, updates the data, and then re-adds the foreign key. Developers. Oh, look at that. That's a follower on Mixer. Job 101. I'm not on Mixer right now, but they're following me. All right. But I see what this is doing. There shouldn't be a key at all, actually. Oh, that was you. Okay. Sir Chompalots. Yes. All right. I'm going to comment those out. Because I think it's doing the exact same thing in both locations, isn't it? Name, table, column. Yeah. We should be okay to kick that off now. Let's see what we got. See what we got. Alter column operation. You stink. Going back to C# after years in the Java world. Hey, welcome back then, Sir Chompsalots. Let me know if you have any questions. We're doing a lot of really cool things with .NET Core now. I think you'll find it pretty interesting here. The alter column. What did we alter about it? Old CLR type int. I didn't change that. I don't think we need this. Right? Because this is on article histories. Yeah, it's an int. Jira's down at work. That's not right. That's not right. Who broke Jira just so Claire could watch? There we go. Now it's loaded. See, now why is... Write that back to home. It mysteriously went down. I know. Claire? Huh?
And you blew it!
You blew it. You messed up. Very mysterious. On Sprint Demo Day. I don't know what you did there. There's definitely something here we need to take care of. But I need a way to jump through to the history at this point. So, shoot. I am at time. I need to run. I'm late for a meeting now. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to stop this. Let's pack up what we have here. I need to add the new files. Started work on the history page. Cool. Now let's push that up. And I'll come back and we'll continue building this history page and getting it linked up properly. Don't do that, fdisk mbr. That's a bad idea. So we started working on our history page. We looked at two other pull requests here today that were just a little bit diverging from where we want to go with the project. and we'll take a look at with a little bit of direction here, including those in a future revision. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining me. Thank you to our new subscribers. Thank you to all of our new followers here. We got up to 70-some folks following here today, viewing today. I really appreciate all of you joining me. Of course, this video will be archived here on Twitch. You'll be able to watch it for 30 days, and we'll archive it over on YouTube as well if you want to watch it from over there. Keep an eye out. It should be over there a little bit later today. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for following. I'll see you on Thursday. We'll get back to writing a little bit more here on our core wiki project. All righty? Take care. We'll see you then.